Hey guys, it's Calm,
And IDC.
And xNira.
Roltair here.
and today we're going to be talking about a few of the new units that came out in the new banner and the new Grand Tier battle. So today we're talking about the
Okay.
Fallen Heroes banner. The first unit we're going to look at is Grima with uh, basically a new form of Lightning Breath that's 16 might called Expiration. He's got Vengeful Fighter and War Dragons and has a BST range of 173 to 175.
And the 175 super boon is in attack, which I think is nice because some of the units have super boons in stats that are not super helpful. So I think it's particularly nice that it's in attack. And I guess just for people who don't know, the reason why the significance of having 175 BST is actually like important is that it bumps you up 1 point for the number of arena scoring points you get for base stats. They're grouped into units of like 5. So 175 will get you in 1 more point versus 174. But that only really matters for like really upper tier 20 shit anyways, so
Another nice thing about his boon and attack is with his boon and attack and expiration, he hits 60 attack pretty much. So it's fairly nice if you're looking for a high attack unit, especially if you're going to pair it with something like Vengeful Fighter.
and yeah, I'm thinking at least about what blue units or other green units he's gonna face. Like I feel like 60 attack is probably enough to, especially since he does magic. It'll be targeting the resistance stat. Like it's even more effective for him to have all that extra attack because
I was gonna say. I reckon his kit is really good. That he comes with the Ignis and the Vengeful Fighter, so that's pretty nice. The Expiration's quite a decent skill. Pretty good. I actually like it.
like he has 35 defense, and so I have no clue what Ignis will do. But that's like a reasonable amount to get some extra, a reasonable amount of damage from Ignis.
And then you're stacking that on top of his, already extremely high attack.
Yeah, the Ignis will add an extra 28 damage. Assuming he's
28 damage.
unbuffed.
Yeah, and he actually, because he's armored. I guess we didn't mention this, but he's armored and a Manakete, so like he has a lot of kind of movement slash that's like I guess like movement buffs available.
Okay.
If you consider like the Manakete buffs, like he can get armor, the +6 armor buffs, and then the +6 Manakete buff. So that's pretty cool.
It's pretty good for mixed emblem too, because you can run two dragons and, well, I guess three dragons and an armor unit for the armor march, and essentially you have a mixed phase team that works fairly well.
Does tactic work with like because it's movement type only for tactic, yeah? So it doesn't matter if he's a dragon or not, yeah.
Correct.
So
But you
Yeah.
could run him with like 2 infantry Manaketes and then Myrrh and him, and you would get attack tactic. But you also could just run like Tone Dragons or Fortified Dragons or something like that. But if you don't want to run other dragons in your spots, then
just saying, just with mixed teams, it wouldn't like be that beneficial because he's still just considered just armor because dragon doesn't do anything.
It is interesting because he is an armored unit that's dealing magical damage, which I think is should be the first of his type. It's
Well,
fairly
we've got
effective
melee.
for armor team, yeah.
So,
Melee
yeah,
wise,
we've got
yes.
Henry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
he's
was
not
talking about
always
melee-wise.
doing physical damage actually. If he's attacked from range, he will. Not always doing magical damage. If he's attacked from range, then he targets the lower of the two Deferes.
true from the because expiration comes with the refine for lightning breath.
He comes with pretty effective stats, pretty effective base kit. He can run Aether, which is really nice too, for arena points. He looks like he's made for basically higher tier arena runs.
True, and he doesn't get the penalty for special cooldown from expiration, which is nice. So, do you guys see him being really popular despite having like some major like falchion weaknesses and also hammer like or armor effective weaknesses? Like, do you think he'll be a threat?
For higher tier arena, I expect him to be popular just because he has a high BST.
Mm.
Yeah, outside of higher tier arena, I don't see him being used very often, just because he'll probably be hard to get merges for.
I don't know. That fat attack is pretty good. You know, you could one-shot potential, Grand Hero battles or Bound Hero battle units.
Just kind of backtracking though to Arena, like I feel like because Lissa also can hit 175 with a super boon and something. Sorry.
So I guess
In defense,
should we
I think.
compare?
Um, and so like comparing Winter Lissa to Grima, like I would probably take Winter Lissa over her because like, especially since Falcon's just got a buff, like I don't necessarily want to be running into hammer like armor effective weapons everywhere, and also Falchions. Like I now have to watch out for that as well.
But Robin is now available. He'll be like a available unit because he's not seasonal. So
Yeah.
getting that to that +10 is kind of juicy.
But for whale tier, like
I think Lissa is a better defensive unit. I think Grima is a better offensive unit
When
because he
when it
can
comes
do
to
a lot more
Grima,
damage.
yeah, I was gonna say I would probably pick Grima over Lisa just because the sets you can run with Grima and his range. One of them that I was thinking of was like Warding Breath, Bold Fighter, and Quick Riposte, which makes him pretty much offensive in either phase. So as long as he's not fighting armor slaying units or Falchion units, he should be fine.
but that's a very large if. Like I feel like whale tier, I like all I see really weapon wise are either preference weapons or armor effective weapons because that's just what you run into.
But have you seen a lot of Martha, Lucina, or Chrome lately?
Maybe just because I run them, but like
I'm seeing quite a
I've
lot
seen
of
a
Om
couple
now.
Marths.
I've seen more
Chrome,
Marths,
really?
yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a single yet.
I haven't seen all, but I've
I
seen
have
like
no
I think
idea
2
why.
Marths.
Like, I know
Both
Alm's
in
kit is
character
really
hero.
good, but like, he's been on what, 1 or 2 banners?
Yeah.
Like on my previous Deathless run, I ran into like 3 Oms, so I'm like, okay, this is new.
With the Falchion upgrade,
Yeah,
the
with
Great Sword.
he's refined. Yeah, Falchion.
I think he'll
Nice.
probably be more popular in lower tier because they won't necessarily care about the merges. So like, as long as they have a copy of him, he's really good.
True.
Higher tier
Mhm.
because he's so rare, you're not gonna have many merges, yeah. So I would see him being in the lower tier more often, yeah.
So as far as like Lissa versus Grima, is that is I'm the only one who thinks Lissa's better, so it's 3-1.
I'm pretty neutral on it. I think they're pretty even. It just really comes down to, I guess,
Like
your
enemy
score
versus
range,
player phase.
and
Hmm.
yeah.
I think I'm pro Grima on this one.
I'm pretty neutral because I'm not gonna use any of the 2 units.
I just mean like, if you had to pick one or the other.
If you had a free summon on the 2, which would you go for?
A free summon, a vengeful fighter fodder, please.
Yeah, I would go with
How
Grima.
how do you put the unit?
Yeah, I don't need bold fighter. Thanks for the vengeful though.
It's so interesting how Vengeful and Bold are used so differently. Like in Whale tier, all I see is Bolt Fighter, with like just really obnoxious stuff, and then, well, I see a lot of like Steady Breath Bolt Fighter, which is just kind of like unfun. And then I feel like for lower tiers, like people are a lot more in favor of Vengeful Fighter. Like Winter Tharja got onto the top 4, like basically off of having Vengeful Fighter in close counter. I think, and people weren't as interested for Bolt Fighter.
I think I had to have been for Vengeful Fighter because Takumi wasn't up there.
True.
Yeah, that's
Which
true.
I think just makes my point more, like, just supports my point more that, like, on average, people see a lot more power in Vengeful Fighter than they do in Bolt Fighter. But I feel like,
I, th
I don't know.
I think it comes down to
But
um in the player's hands, what a player is effective with when he's using said skill. Bold Fighter seems to be something good for
Yeah,
defense
I
teams.
I think it's play type. Like, people who want to play more defensively will use vengeful, and whoever wants to like go deep with bold fighters, like, go deep
Well,
and
like
be obnoxious that way.
with Vengeful Fighter, it's like if they don't survive, then Vengeful Fighter does nothing for you. But Bold Fighter, you initiate, so no one's likely gonna KO you on their return hit. So you get those 2 hits, and you're probably gonna kill your target.
and also maybe I just run into like dumb stuff, but I run into like a lot of Bolt Fighter Gale Force armor units with Armor March, and they keep Armor March after Gale Force, and it's just really unpleasant to deal with.
It's very scary. Yeah.
Harden is the other armored unit on this banner. He's got Grotavus, which is just the same Grotavus that we have. It has just encounter 16 might. He also has Bolt Fighter and Brazen Defense Res, and I think he has 175.
174 to
BSC.
175.
And I think it's like this. He has a Super Bane. I don't think he has a Super Boon in anything. He has a Super Bane in speed. So unless you have minus speed, your Harden will have 175 base stats. I think it's cool that he's not Fate's Awakening. That's nice. Or also SOV. Maybe he is SOV. I don't know. I didn't actually finish, but
He was
No, he's Master with the emblem.
well, glad to see some like game diversity or cast diversity.
certainly
I
is
feel like-
interesting they gave him the Bane in speed when that's kind of like his least needed stat. He comes with Bolt Fighter, so they're obviously not looking for building on his speed stat. You're looking to build on his defense, resistance, and attack stat.
I think it's kind of nice that they gave him minus speed because otherwise you would have a really like if you're willing for a +10 Harden, or you have the ability to be picky about his IVs. Like it discourages you from taking minus speed plus something else because you'll lose the 175 base stats. So you have to pick a different stat to take a Bane in.
It is kind of nice that we have an armor unit that's a lance unit who has distant counter built in and a really decent resistance stat with I think I said it before, but a full base kit. You don't actually have to go and spend like a few months building Gwendolyn, is it? Or
Yep.
Effie, you already have a pretty good resistance distant counter lance armor unit.
Yeah, because otherwise a lot of the ones we've gotten thus far have been seasonal, I think. So
Yeah, it was
Winter Robin, we've gotten.
I think he was the only other armored lance
Oh
unit.
really?
so I guess it's a bit nice to have a little bit more variety when it comes to picking your armored lance units.
Oh no, we just got the one from the Tempest Trials whose name I've forgotten.
Oh yeah,
Eliwood.
Yeah, Eliwood.
How does he compare?
Isn't he also like one of the highest BSTs
He also has
out there?
175, but he can't be merged, so
Yeah.
he's not. He's got a. He's got a.
He's got a +1.
Yeah.
I did not realize how it was 175. That's really intriguing.
I think it's wonderful that they gave that to us.
That's
He
why people
actually
made a
has
big
really
deal.
high attack stat.
Yeah, I remember people were talking about that of how he had totally power creeped Effie, except he wasn't mergeable, so it didn't super matter. And he has just like a good stat, so like I'm kind of glad that he wasn't on the banner and that he was a Tempest Trial Reward, because I would not have wanted to see +10s of him running around. I feel like Harden's stat distribution isn't like crazy mind blowing. It's just like solid across the board. There's nothing really obvious like Grima's attack stat to like he just doesn't
Yeah.
nothing like jump, but it's just like you just look at everyone and be like, oh, that's pretty solid, and like just the whole way through.
Yeah, I reckon he's just a decent unit. I don't think he's like anything like broken or anything. He's just pretty solid.
I'd agree, yeah. Except for his art, which is not solid. He's by far got the weakest art. I think Robin's art is really like polarizing, but I like it. But I think he's like probably the most boring unit on this banner.
He is has to be.
So the next unit we're going to be talking about is Celica. She has a weapon that is called the Beloved Zofia. It gives her +3 defense. If her HP is 100%, she gets +4 attack, speed, defense, and resistance. But if she attacks or gets hit while at full HP, she takes 4 damage after combat. She comes with skills that is chill speed and hone attack. Her BST ranges from 162 to 164. And that's basically the run through of the unit.
So chill speed is probably the most interesting ability. Like I think it's actually the only new ability we got in this banner, aside from more dragons, which we didn't even talk about. But chill speed is really annoying, and I don't like it.
I, on the other hand, love it. Because I'm the one using it, but, I have yet to see a whole bunch of it in Arena, and given, like, the stuff I see in Arena, which is mostly armor units, I don't think I'm going to see a whole lot of it, because with Bolt Fighter and Vengeful Fighter, they don't need to worry about speed.
I think
So
it's gonna be an interesting. Remember when we had like, when blade tomes were really strong, we had like dedicated buff units, and now like if you have a dedicated like buff support unit, like chill speed is a really good B slot to put on them because otherwise there wasn't like most B slots are kind of combat related, but chill speed is an out of combat permanent debuff, and it requires no interaction. There's no way to count like you can't counterplay it. I don't think you can use. Well, actually, no, you can use harsh command on it, but I just think it's like doesn't really reward any kind of strategy, which is what like this is the first word that comes to mind for Fire Emblem is like strategy that you should be rewarded for actually thinking about what you're doing.
yeah, I was gonna talk about this. I think it kind of trivializes the fact that it doesn't really take any strategy or any skill to work around the skill. There is no working around it. It's a universal debuff. I don't see a whole lot of people using this in Arena just because she's a new unit. She's a fan favorite. Not a lot of people are gonna want to sack her for the skill, but people who are willing to test it, you might see it trickle in here and there. I don't think
I
it's
have
gonna be
seen
anything
it
crazy. We
once.
don't see Gunther a whole lot with using that skill, so it is what it is.
I actually have built around working around it because Roy was my fastest unit, and all the units I want to take a speed debuff, it's not him. So I actually had to lower his speed so that he wasn't the one that got hit by it.
So I guess just because we didn't mention it, chill speed for the fastest unit on the enemy team will have a -7 debuff. Just it's like Gunthra, -7. Like except instead of being the lowest, it's the one with the highest speed. So it's the most punishing unit.
It's also scary because if your enemy team has like a tied top speed, so if you have two units that have 40 or something, and that's their high speed, both of them will get debuffed.
Yeah, which so it's like it's very frustrating because it punishes like I was okay with the Gunthra chill speed or chill seal because it took the weakest unit and gave them a debuff. But like here, it's like it's taking your strongest unit and just neutralizing one of the um the advantages that your strongest speed unit has, which is speed, and that's just like really annoying. And I'm expecting them to come out with like chill defense and chill res, and like that will also be really frustrating. And I'm not really looking forward to that because like it will just take away from some of the strategy. And like maybe there's some strategy in like choosing your unit's kits, and that's where the strategy is done. But I think that some of the strategy should also be like on the actual map, choosing how your units move, which has no effect on what chill speed will do.
I feel like they're trying to make it so that you can't really build to counter everything. So, you actually have to kind of think a bit more about your strategy rather than just making sure you have the right kit when you start.
But this rewards you for just making sure you have the right kit when you start because this.
It rewards the person using it, yeah, but, like, I mean, for, like, the people that need to counter it, they can't just have, like, this one kit that will always be able to handle everything. Now they have to be able to worry about a little bit of randomness.
Although I wonder like how much the average player has the ability to like modify like unless you have like 100 refines on all your weapons, like you don't have that much room to change which unit is your fastest unit to take the chill speed debuff.
I was able to do it because
Well,
my fastest unit now is Erzor, and she doesn't tend to fight fast lance units. Is what I mainly use her for. So she'll either still double her targets anyways, or they'll attack her, and she has really high attack with Glimmer, so she tends to OKO a lot of units.
so I think maybe in like upper for like players who have a lot of resources and have a lot of highly invested units, it will maybe add some counterplay. But like for the average player, like I feel like this is not a good addition to the game for them.
Well, I feel like a lot of the recent additions are trying
True.
to bring in higher tier players.
True.
Yeah, the armor units obviously.
What do we think about Celica as like an actual unit and not just chill speed?
She upsets me. She's basically power creep Roy.
Her stats aren't, bad or anything by any means. Obviously her weapon goes well with her stats. She's got a lot of competition, and I wouldn't use her over my other sword units I already built. So,
Wait, what competition does she have?
what do you mean?
What's her competition?
Wait, what's her stat, or what's her BST again?
162 to
164.
It's not higher than Ira and Mia, is it?
It's the same range.
Oh, okay.
But like with her 100% buff, she pretty much has the same speed as them. She has higher attack than them, and then she has better survivability.
Do you think there'll be strategies to continually get the buff? Like, do you think people would be running renewal on this, or just like soul or noontime or something like that? Ether.
I don't see why they wouldn't try to keep 100%, because most of the units in higher tiers, oh, I guess if they're using her for higher tiers, aren't going to be speedy units, so she doesn't really need chill speed.
Man, I run into a lot of fast Amelias.
Like around 44 speed. Amelia's.
Anything else we want to add?
She looks good.
I think I wish they had done. I don't know if you guys saw, but there was a really interesting like Reddit art edit where they made her skin tone kind of more look like the ashy purple, like kind of dead zombie looking color, and I thought that was a really great edit because I feel like her art is not as different as it could have been, and that would have been more fun.
A lot of people mistaken her like strain of hair to be blood, and I'm like, okay, because everyone was like looking at this really low res photo of Celica, and I was like, oh my god, it's blood coming out of her eye. I'm like, it's just a strain of hair.
Yeah, I wish they had made it just a little bit different, like because she also has like they all have that like purple flame behind them, which is kind of cool, but I also wish it had more texture to it because it kind of feels very flat to me. But I think they're experimenting, which is cool.
The art's nice.
I just wish
It's
she looked-
it's a little bland compared to her, other set of art, but yeah, I think it looks good at the end of the day.
So moving
overall,
on.
She's like a interesting unit. She could probably go in several different directions, but I think it's better just to wait and see what people do than try and speculate it.
She certainly does have a lot of competition, I think.
You do or don't think she has a lot of
I do think I think she does have a lot of competition because like as far as infantry sword units, like
I mean, if
I
you
don't know.
count her buff, then she's like faster and stronger than.
But you're gonna have to run renewal B slot, and because you can't really depend on the ether heal to get you back up to full consistently because it just takes so long anyways. But like
I mean, if
if you're running renewal
like,
B slot,
soul heavy blade, then it
how much
works.
attack does she have?
Well, actually, no, that doesn't work because even after she heals from soul or aether, then she takes the 4 damage afterwards. So she would need renewal.
Yeah, when I think like I've been running renewal on like Falchion users, and like that's all right because they get 20 back. But for other units, I think it's a really underwhelming B slot, and there's a lot of really good B slot abilities, and so for her to have to run renewal, I think just hurts her. Like,
Will she
it's
actually
definitely an
take
opportunity
damage
lost.
when she heals?
He was saying that like if you proc soul or if you proc your healing special, then you're gonna be full during combat, but then you take the 4 damage afterwards, so ultimately you still end up down health. You'd have to
Alright,
proc
I
your
forgot.
special.
I'm thinking about my stupid carrot axe because like that negates any damage I take for some whatever reason.
Yeah, but for this one, like you'd have to get a
Yeah.
second proc for the 100% HP. You'd have to proc your healing special, but not proc the attack, like the in combat buff from the.
Yeah.
weapon, which just means
Ever
that like
wouldn't help much. Yeah.
no, and so like I think running renewal does not help her.
I mean, you could put a really tanky person by her, and then like have someone run Iron
Breath of
Sacrifice.
Life.
Or you could run like Breath of Life or Sacrifice. You could run a healer, but like I feel like that's all still like sacrificing unnecessarily to play around her weapon, which I don't know.
I mean, if someone really likes her, then they'll do whatever to play around
Yeah.
her.
For
That's
sure,
true.
but I think if you're just going off of like looking at the other available infantry units, like I wouldn't tell someone who has plus 10 era that they should replace their era with, like if they're like in a whaling mood, like that they should go after this unit because I don't think that.
I reckon if they're playing like generally, I don't think it's like a really good unit to play. There's a lot of other units that are pretty vanilla that would work with any other team. I just think Celica here just falls off from that a little.
Well, I think chill speed is more powerful if you're not in.
Yeah, but then you could say you can just fodder off chill speed to anyone then. So
True.
yeah.
All right. Do we want to talk about Talk Me?
Yeah, our last unit on the list is Fallen Takumi. He comes with the weapon Scaldi, which grants +3 speed. And then at the start of the third turn, foes within 3 columns centered around Takumi will take 10 damage, and any bonuses they have will become penalties through their next actions. His skills are Fury and Speed Smoke, and he has a BST of 151. I think it's interesting that they're like giving us a lot of speed-based skills now, because they are pretty slow at starting to give us that, but it's a free speed smoke, so people that are having trouble breaking speed barriers, they now have access to this skill for free.
Assuming they can clear the map.
We'll talk about that a bit later.
I was also really glad to see Speed Smoke on him. And the other thing that was interesting was that apparently, so the panic ploy effect you can't use Harsh Command on a unit that's been panic ployed, which I didn't realize, and so I think that makes this bow really, really interesting.
It's an interesting bow, but I feel like outside of the Grand Hero battle, it might be hard to actually get into play.
But I just think of some of the maps that we have that have those like I think at the bridge map, you just put him so that he covers both sides of the bridges, and then get free 10 damage on 4 units possibly, which you may or may not want to have because maybe it puts them in Wrath or Vantage or Brazen range. But I feel like some of the maps this could be kind of fun could be kind of gimmicky to use for arena. Maybe when you know what the map is in advance and you know what the units are, this could be kind of fun to use.
I think it'll be fun, but I feel like it's probably more oriented for PvE than PvP.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
It's a really gimmicky thing. It really comes down to a lot of planning, which you can't really do for arena. You can't plan out your turns in arena like you can with Grand Hero battles. I've heard people talking in the Discord about using 3 Takumis for a Grand Hero battle, which I don't know how well that would work, but it's an interesting concept.
Yeah, because what if they don't move until you move? So they just wait 3 turns, and then that's 30 damage.
I actually now really want to do this. I want feathers for it.
No, they're just not going to release anything where they wait for you. They're just all gonna bum rush you now.
They probably might even plan to make other Grand Hero battles just not stand in those areas.
Every unit is 4 spaces apart now.
Just, every other Grand Hero battle is just built like this now.
As far as a bow user, I don't think he is gonna. Aside, unless for the gimmick Scotty, he doesn't really hold a candle to some of the offensive Fire Sweeper Brave Bow users.
Yeah, him as a unit is nothing special, but only he can use that bow, so.
Yeah, that's what makes him special. His stat line is like pretty underwhelming.
He's got all right
Which-
speed, but it's not really that great. One one thing I'm seeing here is he's yeah, you're probably not going to see him in arena. He's definitely going to be a gimmicky thing outside for PvP or PvE, sorry. Gordon, I know Gordon seems random, but Gordon just seems like a better archer than Takumi in this case for PvP because he has the defensive range and he can use a brave bow better than Takumi in this case.
Well, they have the same attack stat.
Yeah, but the defense stat is pretty nice because I have trouble killing Gordon on defense tiles with that defense stat.
Oh yes, but Gordon can't use that bow.
I
Like
mean, if we're
you,
talking about defensive
you could bring a
archers-
Takumi, you could bring a Takumi that's level 1 and has that bow, and he'll do as good as a job as any other Takumi, level 40 or anything. You know, it's just that bow.
Rip original Takumi?
Yeah, Takumi's original refined.
I mean, if we're talking about defensive archers, I feel like Leon takes the cake there because he has the defense, but he also has speed, which most of the defensive archers don't have. So he won't get doubled as much as they will.
He's definitely got competition in his little niche, but it's fun, and I'm excited to see more units come out like this that are quote unquote free to play. Um,
I would say that his niche is he's like uncontested in his super gimmicky out of combat damage niche because Scotty is pretty unique. But as far as like PvP usability, he's got a lot of competition. We could just fodder him for speed smoke.
Pretty much.
Unfortunately, I feel like most people will.
Unfortunately, it's 5-star locked, which is unfortunate. Do we want to talk about the Grand Hero battle?
I'm gonna be helpless in this because I have not even done it yet.
So I guess spoilers for IDC, but there's 2 Takumis in the center of the map. So unless you're standing on the furthest columns, you take either 20 or 10 damage on the 3rd turn. And then there's also Savage Blow on like every ranged unit. And the 2 healers have Dazzling Staff. And are like just there's just so much out of combat damage that I find this map to be really frustrating.
Yes. I have auto battled the hard difficulty and I came back to my team with all at 1 health, so yeah, that kind of concerned me. I was like, oh jeez.
And like for me, I feel like a lot of people have been complaining about the Scotty turn 3 damage, but I thought that was interesting to kind of play around that. You know, if you could escape to the sides, like that's an interesting way to kind of approach that. Except a lot of people just threw Ike down the center, which I thought was kind of brute forcing and kind of not very elegant. But the healers were just really frustrating with Dazzling Staff, and like, why? I did not enjoy that.
I don't remember how many turns this took me, but I don't remember feeling like it was a problem.
The healers?
The healers, the Scotty damage.
What did you find to be frustrating? Did you find the map to be frustrating?
As a soloer, yes. As a just trying to complete it, no.
Yeah, compared to my Leon and my Volta Grand Hero battle time, this took me about 20 minutes less than Leon's, and about like an hour less than Volter's. So this wasn't too bad for me.
Huh. Maybe I just was like using a bad team. But this took me almost like 3 hours to do, and I think Volter was like 2 hours. And like, I just found it to be really frustrating. And also because of like there are very few, aside from like the 2 channels that are totally open on this on like one end from the sides, like there isn't that much room for maneuvering, and some of the tiles are totally locked off even to flyers, which really annoyed me as like a flyer user. And like, I don't know, I just thought this was really annoying, and I didn't like the healers at all.
I know why
I
this
don't
didn't
even
annoy
want
me.
to know now.
'Cause I
Volta
actually
took
killed
me
both
like
top-
4 days. And it made me suffer that I had to change out one of my units, which actually made me very depressed. So
Aw.
this one might actually break me. I see everything on Twitter. Everyone's just going crazy about how hard it is. Phoenix Max even says himself, "This one could be the hardest one out there," and I'm just like, okay, I don't even want to play this now.
If
But I
there's
see in the comments everyone saying, "Where's the Takamiji Grand Hero battle? Take it out. We want to see you suffer." I'm like, my fans hate me.
Yeah, I think the reason I didn't find this frustrating is because I killed both Takumis on turn 4.
you got him off
Well,
pretty early.
the strategies with I killed him like turn 1, which didn't even occur to me because I'm such like a not that kind of player to rush into the center. But like, it was just it's very funny. But if you're not doing that, like if you don't have a unit that you can just like send down the middle to kill the two archers and the cavalier, like to kill the two Takamis and the cavalier archer, like I don't know. I didn't like
the two Takumis were like the second to last units I killed in that map. The hardest unit I found was the hero with the slow staff, I think it was.
Yes.
That was kind of annoying. Had to work around that.
I think one thing that was like kind of shining light as far as map design that I saw is that I didn't notice this actually until much later, but there's 2 trenches on the map that kind of go in the center that I like just didn't notice at all. But when I was watching some solos, like there was a lot of opportunity for really interesting baits around the trenches for cavalry units, which was nice that they were doing that. I thought that was cool.
I feel like it wasn't intended for people to use them for their purposes so much as to like stop people from using Horse Emblem more. But I could be wrong.
I mean, I feel like this is a really bad map for Horse Emblem.
Yeah, the trenches are kind of the killer thing here.
I'm actually very concerned for this map right now.
Are you looking at it? Like, good.
I'm literally just thinking what to do with my Hector to try and beat them all in one turn because I do not want that reinforcements because that seems like a pain in the ass. Because I've done every other Grand Hero battle with all the reinforcements because I welcome it, like the Legion one. I'm like, okay, I'll do it with every reinforcement. But this one, I feel like I just want to just get that first turn kill and then just not come back to it.
It has been done already, so it is possible, but
Yeah. I'd just rather not die like 30 times and then cry.
That was me at 2 a.m. I was very upset.
So we've talked a lot about the units and the Grand Tier battle. How are you guys faring with the new units and the Grand Tier battles? Tell us in the comments below, and I'm excited to see you guys again in the next video.
Nice.
Wee.
Easy.
Uh,
yay!